Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Hustle Kitchen podcast. You're listening to the first episode, and today we have a special guest, Martin Yofre. Martin, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Hussein.
It's an absolute pleasure. So, Martin, let's get right into it. You're from Argentina.
Yes.
But you've been living in Bahrain like forever.
Yes. My family moved here in 1978.
Wow.
So I was 3 years old. And yeah, I did my whole high school in Bahrain, graduated in 1993, went abroad, studied, stayed abroad for many years, and eventually moved back to Bahrain like 2002.
So what's the love with Bahrain? Why Bahrain, by the way?
Why Bahrain? Bahrain is home. Bahrain is home. I'm from Argentina, and I consider myself Argentinian, but Bahrain is home, and I love Bahrain.
Okay, amazing. So just to give the viewers a background, so your family, you have an architectural business?
Yes, my dad's an architect, and he came for the first time in 1977 just to like scout the land and make sure that everything was just to have it, because they had no idea about Bahrain or what this island was back then. And once he got here, and he got to see, the social life and how, I would say, how bare it was, and the opportunities that presented themselves back then. He decided, we're all gonna move here, and
makes sense.
Bahrain's
very nice people. It's a very nice place.
Beautiful.
I used to have the same problem. So when I used to live in Australia and London back in the day, where you'd say Bahrain, they'd be like, "Where is that?" And you'd be like, "Oh, it's next to Saudi Arabia." You know. And then later on, it became, "Where is that?" It's next to Dubai. But I think now Bahrain finally is on the map.
They've positioned themselves.
They've positioned themselves. People know where Bahrain is now.
Yeah, they do.
So Martin, what do you do in Bahrain?
So I work in advertising.
Okay.
I've worked in big ad agencies.
Which ones?
Most of my career. I've worked in McCann, I've worked in Lowe, I've worked in Momentum, and MNC Saatchi, Ogilvy. I'm talking like for the past 20 years.
These are really big international agencies.
Yeah, always for the big names.
Amazing. Because like Hustle Kitchen is all about business and marketing.
Yes.
So how was that marketing experience? But we have a lot of people who follow the channel, who work in the creative field, but probably don't necessarily have that experience working with those bigger international agencies. What do you think is the main takeaway working for the big boys versus those small creative houses?
So the big takeaway is having network agencies. I mean, how you can benefit from network is having resources.
Sorry, can you just explain to our viewers, what is a network agency?
Network agency is, for example, when I worked with McCann, we had offices in every major city of the Middle East. So agencies in this part of the world usually cover MENA, which is Middle East and North Africa. So having that coverage, and that coverage means you have insights into different markets, always helps a lot when you have to target certain markets and come up with strategies that will actually be, relevant, and creative ideas that will resonate with the target audience, that whoever we're targeting. So just having network agencies is not just about having shared resources, but insights, I think, plays a big part in that.
That's really interesting, because I think one of the biggest areas that I always say small creative houses lack is they lack the research capabilities, right? And it's almost sometimes you feel like they're just winging it. When they're running a marketing campaign.
When you flesh out a strategy, and it's the insights that really, that's the most important part of the whole process. Between coming up with that creative idea and the end product is the insights. And if you don't have those insights, then whatever creative idea you come up with is not going to be relevant, and it's just not going to,
That is amazingly interesting, and I'll tell you why. Because, I always bang on about, getting into the mind of your customer, knowing what his pain points are, what his emotions are, and that research behind it, because marketing at the end of the day shouldn't be a guessing game, right? No. It shouldn't be a gamble, and it shouldn't be like, that's a pretty picture, but it doesn't translate into sales or results that you're looking for.
When I was working in Dubai, so I worked in Dubai for almost 12 years of my life. And we used to work with big brands, and these big brands would want to cover, of course, Saudi was our main market. Saudi Arabia was our main market.
But were you working like from Bahrain, or
no, this was when I was in Dubai.
Okay.
But because all the big brands are headquartered in Dubai, we would have to come up with ideas that would not just be regional, but they would have to tap into each market. And Saudi was always that market that we couldn't get right.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I'm telling you, we had the most creative minds that we brought from all over the world. We had amazing strategic planners. But understanding the Saudi market means you have to live in the Saudi market.
Okay.
It means you have to understand their language. It means you have to understand their behavior, what their day-to-day life entails. So, and that's one of the main reasons I lived in Saudi for 3 years. And why I went to Saudi was because for so many years we were trying to, get it right with Saudi. Sometimes we got it right, sometimes we didn't.
Yeah.
So going there and understanding the consumer and understanding just culture and,
Okay, this is really interesting. You lived in Saudi, you lived in Dubai, you lived in Bahrain. Now, from a marketing point of view, what was your biggest takeaway? Like, what was that major difference? Because Saudi, of course, is the #1 economy that everyone wants to tap, especially, if that makes sense, right?
Nowadays,
because 30 million population, whatever it is, it's a big market, and they have a lot of disposable income at their hands.
Yeah.
But what was that one thing you learned that was different in terms of how you approach that market in order for it to work?
Just to give you an example, the Arabic.
Yeah.
Because you have the Najdis, you have the Jaddawis, you have,
Okay.
And if you communicate anything that's a little bit Jaddawi, and I'm talking on a Saudi level, meaning when you're, creating a piece of communication that has to run across, it has to be relevant.
Yes.
So you have to find that Arabic that will resonate in each of these 3 main areas.
So you have to use local dialect for each campaign.
Well, no. You have to try and find the Arabic that will sort of...
The balance.
It will streamline and it will be relevant to all 3.
Yes.
So this is where you have to be very careful, because if it sounds too Jaddawi, then the Najdis in Riyadh are going to reject it and reject the brand, and that will be a disaster.
Oh my God, that's...
So you have to be very careful with those sort of things, just to give you an example.
So now this is really interesting, because let's say you're a company in Bahrain and you want to explore the Saudi market, because obviously now post-COVID and everyone being online, I think the world is your oyster. But in terms of the marketing material or your ads that you're going to run in Saudi, so you're saying it's very important to understand that insight, that research into their behavior, their language, in order to be success over there.
Yeah. And then, when in digital marketing, what we do is, for example, Saudi, 70% of the population of Saudi are under 30.
So it's a young population.
It's a very young population. We're talking about a millennial
So you need a lot of memes and cool TikToks and things like that.
Yeah. So Snapchat, I was like shocked. I think Snapchat was created for the Saudi market.
Okay.
It was the answer. It was that app that was made for Saudi, because the messages that would just instantly delete. It was just created for that market. I felt like it was a very Saudi product, even though it wasn't.
Of course. But look, the days that you were working in the marketing agencies, when did you leave that industry?
So a year and a half ago.
So it was already online.
Yeah. So a year and a half ago, I was making my move again from the UAE back to Saudi.
Okay.
I wanted to go back to Saudi. I was there during the whole paradigm shift. And I thought it was just a very interesting market, interesting market. So I was on my way back, and that's when I sort of stopped in Bahrain. And since then, I've been here.
So your plan wasn't to stay here at
My plan was not to stay here.
What was your plan? To go back to Saudi?
To go back to Saudi, and I was going to open an agency for one of the brands that I was hired to.
Oh wow!
So
you were going to do a marketing.
So it was an ad agency, and they wanted to open doors in Riyadh specifically. And I was on my way to do that, and when I got here.
What happened?
I just, my family's here, my parents are here, and I just, this is pre-COVID, and things were going a little bit sour. We have a couple of businesses here that we were running, and both businesses were suffering.
Yeah.
And my folks, bless them.
God bless them.
I just felt like they needed, even though they will never ask, I just felt that they needed help, just to sort of put things back into gear.
Yeah.
So I decided to stay and help with the businesses.
So you stayed for your family's sake?
Yes, I did.
I mean, that's, honestly, very good of you, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, it was not, I mean, I didn't even think twice about it. I mean, it was very, instant. As soon as I sensed it immediately as soon as I got here. And then when I went, so we have an architectural business that's been running for 42 years. But as soon as I went to the company, I mean, I knew that something was off. My dad doesn't maybe say a lot.
Dad's always protected.
Business was not what he was used to for the past, let's say, the first 40 years.
Yeah.
So I had to help him, restructure, reposition, and sort of get back there into the market.
I mean, fathers always protect their children, right?
Yeah,
and their families.
Yeah. So and now it's our turn.
It's your turn.
Yeah.
No, you sensed it.
Yeah.
You stayed.
Yes.
What is your plan now?
So, well, the other business that we were running was a restaurant called Che Argentina, and that business we started in 2017. In a way, I feel responsible because I incepted this idea into my mom's brain quite a few years ago, like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And one day she decided to go
and do it.
Okay.
And how long ago was that she did it?
In 2017, we opened the restaurant.
Because of you wanted to do that?
I mean, I just put the idea out on the table, and for me, the idea was to create Argentinian empanadas.
Okay.
And to create Argentinian empanadas, you don't need a big location. It's more of a, an oven. I'm not going to say a hole in the wall, but something, classy. But it was really just about delivery and creating empanadas. A typical empanaderia, which is the empanada stores in Argentina. I mean, they can be pretty big, and you have so many different kinds of empanadas, and they're very popular.
Is that like a street food in Argentina?
I would say it's a street food, yeah.
Okay.
And it's very popular. It's very simple. It's like a pastry.
Yeah.
And the stuffing is, either can be beef, it can be chicken, cheese and onion.
Yeah.
Vegetarian. You have so many different. You can go crazy and you can go very creative with the stuffing.
Okay.
As long as the dough is done properly and sort of.
So the secret's in the dough.
Well, a lot of it, the secret is in the dough.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because obviously in Bahrain we do have a lot of pastries, let's call them.
Yeah.
But I've never really come across an Argentinian restaurant or any Argentinian cuisine, and I thought this is why your concept's quite interesting because
it was the first Argentinian concept in Bahrain.
First Argentinian concept in Bahrain, and I believe. Look, I've traveled the world, right? Yeah. I don't think I've ever stopped at an Argentinian restaurant ever. Okay. And before meeting you, I had no idea what Argentinian cuisine actually is. Because, traditionally everyone goes with your Italians, your Japanese, your American, the normal stuff. And what makes this really interesting is that, even if we look at restaurants here, if you see an Italian restaurant, you don't see an Italian owner behind it, or if it's a Japanese restaurant, it's not a Japanese owner. So now we've got an Argentinian guy with an Argentinian cuisine, which to me shouts, I need to keep it authentic as possible because you know what that food is.
Very much.
So what happened? 2017, you opened up.
So we opened up and it went really well for a couple of years.
Okay.
Then honestly, it's during COVID that killed us.
A lot of people got hurt during that time.
The place we were in the Bahrain Financial Harbor and the Harbor Mall were not very, let's say, empathetic towards the situation. So I had to close it down. I had to close down the restaurant. At this point...
How much did you invest in it?
Oh, we invested like 100,000 dinars in the restaurant.
100,000 dinars. Yeah. And okay, can I just step back for a second?
Yeah. I almost fell off my chair when they told me, because I was in Dubai. I was like doing my own thing. So when they told me how much they started sending me pictures of what the outlook started looking like. I was like, guys, where are we with budgets?
Yeah.
And so when I got that final number, I was, a little bit...
shocked.
Yeah.
But that's 100,000 over a couple of years, right? It's not like a one-off. And, you know, this is, I think, very important because a lot of people, you know, especially within the last 10 years, everyone's like, you can't go wrong with food. You know, like that is the traditional thought of someone who's never been in business before.
But you could go wrong in business.
Yeah, no, but you know that traditional thought, right? Everyone's like, okay, I want to open up a business. You can't go wrong with food because everyone eats.
Yeah.
And that is the furthest thing from the truth, right?
Totally.
And, you know, like when it comes to restaurants, I mean, my mentor, he always told me, location, location, location. Hussein, location, location, location. Yeah. And I was like, you know, like, because, you know, like 10 years ago, I opened up my restaurant and, you know, I opened up in Tubli and his advice was, Hussein, why Tubli? Location, location, location. And I was like, well, that is just a location that I found, you know, like no one else was giving me the right price or the right place. And, you know, I kind of made it work because of the marketing aspect of it, but it was a horrible location as a location.
Yeah.
Okay. Especially it didn't have direct access to roads or anything like that. You went into the financial harbor. Yeah. Now, I personally have been to the financial harbor many, many times, but only for a very specific business needs. Yeah. Right. Exactly. But it's not somewhere where I would hang out.
No, definitely not.
What made you go into that location?
The thing is, it wasn't me that went into that location. Okay. It was, you know, again, I was not here. I wasn't involved. I only got involved in the business.
Who picked the location?
So, you know, the folks, and they picked it, I think, they had their own reasons.
Can I just guess? Is it that there's thousands of people working in this building?
3,000.
3,000, okay. They're going to come downstairs, pick up a quick pastry or whatever, and go back to work.
Yeah, and a lot of the business model was, you know, supposed to be based on delivery. So this was like a hub. So they got a pretty good deal for the kitchen.
Because that mall is dead. I'm sorry. Like, I shouldn't be saying
this,
but like, I think they even give free rent for a while.
No.
Just to get people.
No. I mean, imagine during COVID, they didn't want to decrease our rent by 100 fills. so
it didn't help you at all.
No, that's why I closed it down.
But you know, like a lot of malls were providing, even like Seif Mall.
Yeah.
They're providing like 3 months free rent or whatever.
Yeah.
They're doing little things to try to help their tenants get through COVID.
Yeah.
So you're saying in the financial hub, they didn't help you?
They honestly, they didn't know.
Okay.
So
how was it whilst pre-COVID?
Well, pre-COVID, we were making profits. Okay. I mean, we were in a good. I wouldn't say it was the same profit that we were making in 2017, 18. There are so many things that, you know, that played against us in terms of, you know, for example, we had a lot of the BNP. BNP is a huge bank that is based in Financial Harbor. Yes. So suddenly they opened their own canteen. So that immediately affected, you know, our turnover.
Yeah.
So, and then we didn't ignite the delivery the way we should have.
Were you on
There were a few things.
Talaba or anything at that time?
Yeah, we were on Talaba.
You were?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What were you doing on the marketing side during that time?
I was not involved in the restaurant
at all.
At all.
And
so when I came to Bahrain and saw that, you know, what was happening, my mom was like, you know, we're going to close it down. I have nothing to do with this empanadas or with the restaurant.
She wants to take a break.
Yeah. So she sort of dumped the shares on me. And yeah, so, you know, we were doing okay. But this was during, I mean, when I got involved, Financial Harbor was during like my first couple of months. Then had to close it down because of COVID.
Yeah.
But that's when I did something called sentiment analysis. I wanted to know.
Sentiment analysis.
Yeah. So I have a tool that measures sentiment analysis, and just to see what people actually thought of our product, if it was worth shutting down, if it was worth, you know, relocating the kitchen and to produce certain products, not all of them.
Yeah.
And what I got was, I mean, the outtakes were that the empanada was very popular and people loved the empanada. So I decided just to move the concept and only create empanadas.
Okay.
Have them,
makes sense.
Yeah,
simplify your production line.
The machinery to only create the empanadas.
Yeah.
So I set up a kitchen in Mahouz. where we have a villa where we have the other business.
Yeah.
And right now we're just producing empanadas.
Makes total sense. Look, I mean, if you...
Let's say it was our MVP, our most valuable product.
Of course. And if you're a Lebanese restaurant, maybe you just make shawarmas, right?
Yeah.
Although the menu of a Lebanese restaurant is vast.
Yeah.
And if you go to an Iranian restaurant, it's like your kebab, kubidas, whatever. But if you go to Iran to a restaurant, they have hundreds and hundreds of items on their menus.
Totally, yeah.
But here's my question. Where's this passion coming from? Like, why? Like you could have just walked away.
I could have, yeah.
Why are you driving this thing?
Because I love... Okay, look. We did not invent the empanada. Let's put it that way, one.
But there's no empanada in Bahrain.
But I always believed that... And I was never involved in any F&B business. I've worked with Subway and McDonald's on from the advertising front. But I've never run an F&B business.
Yeah.
But I think
business.
if you have a product and you believe in your product, and one of the things I did learn during advertising is that if you package it right, how can you go wrong? I mean, it's...
you tell me.
I mean, again, it's where this is still just the initial phase. I'm telling you, we just launched a few months ago. My goal was to break even. I didn't want to be putting money, and I reduce our overheads to a bare minimum. So I have the chef, we have the machines, I have a second guy, like a helper, doing a lot of the dough, but the trick was to overheads as low as possible. Yeah. And of course, getting into the F&B business, I started doing a lot of research, saying, why are so many restaurants failing? And why are they failing not during COVID, but pre-COVID?
Generally.
A lot of restaurants were closing.
Most have closed down the first year. They keep doing debt.
My outtake from the research was that F&B concepts are not leveraging tech the right way.
Okay.
And I don't think they're marketing their product the right way. And a lot of these businesses, like ours in the beginning, they're run by very passionate, creative people who believe in their product, but are not business-minded.
Yes.
They're not... I think for any business, you always need the rational and the emotional. You need the architect and the engineer.
Yes.
You need the finance guy, the Excel guy, and you need the creative guy, the cook.
Yes.
Otherwise, it's not going to work.
Absolutely.
So I just started, and this is where we're at today. We're in a break-even mode. We're selling empanadas. I started doing, Instagram ads.
Yeah. How is that working for you?
It's working out. It worked out great so far because if I put in $100, I've made my return on investment.
Amazing.
With say 100%.
Can you just give our viewers an example of this, right? So you're running $100. Yeah. What are you doing on your ads? Like, how are you setting this up?
My ads are, look, I've
seen your sponsored ads, by the way. They pop up sometimes. So I'm in your target somehow.
You are, yeah. So typically, the way I would have done this, if I had the time, the money, and the right way to do it was to create awareness. Yeah. And awareness means educate people about the empanada because they cannot even pronounce the word. They're like, what the hell is an empanada?
I always say espanada.
Yeah. So there's a process where people need to be aware of what it is, where it comes from, where they create that story.
Yes.
But what I had to do, given the circumstances, was go in straight up tactical, and what I did was create these Instagram ads that would link directly to a WhatsApp call to action. Yeah. And it would come to my phone, business WhatsApp account, and that would go directly into the kitchen. They would prepare, and then we have a dispatching system.
Who are you targeting? What do you think your audience is?
So right now, I'm targeting a lot of the Latin community in Bahrain.
Do we have a big Latin community in Bahrain?
I would say significant. I mean, yeah, it's pretty big. I mean,
Do you think Bahrainis would love it?
Yes, I think they would, because at the end of the day, it's chicken, meat, spicy meat. Yeah. We even created the Bahraini flavor infused empanada, which is very much like the samosa, the typical Bahraini samosa, which is the potato with the coriander and the Cuban seed, lemon, chili, so it's more spicy. Okay. We created that version for the local market. Okay. This is very recently. We just launched it like a week ago. And I think it's I think the product, if they try it so far,
if they try it, they love it.
The feedback has been great because when they try it, for them to make that extra effort to send me a message saying, man, your empanadas are great.
Yeah.
For me, it's already like a win.
Of course.
And for me, that's,
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay. So from what I'm understanding here, I always say, if you want to retire, go play golf. Don't open a restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? Like, especially at an older age. You know what I mean? It's like the stress of F&B, because F&B is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week business that never has holidays, never has days off, and there's so many different variables. Is it that you're super passionate about the food itself? Or is it that you felt because maybe you were the reason that you opened up this restaurant, now I got to see it through?
Guilt. No. I tell you what it is. I think I've always had an entrepreneurial sort of heart.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And most of the agencies that I've worked with, like with my team, I always would tell them that they are entrepreneurs.
Yes.
They have to go and face clients and go out to the market as entrepreneurs. And I've always had that in me. Okay. And now for the first time, I'm really running a business that I would say, establishing itself in Bahrain, but I had to take many steps back and sort of start from scratch.
Okay.
So it's like my little baby now.
It's your baby now.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. No parent ever gives up on their baby, right?
Yeah, very true.
And so I would like to say, like, okay, I've never tried.
Yeah, you haven't. I know.
I honestly haven't tried. It looks delicious, by the way. And so you're standing by your food, right? That it's going to taste amazing, of course, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like in Bahrain, people just have not tried an empanada.
No.
So that doesn't give a reason for your business to go up or down. But like, of course, there's a lot of upside if they just try it.
Yeah.
Right? What would you say, like, can we give our viewers some kind of deal to try this thing out?
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think?
I would say...
I want to try one of these.
Okay, so that one is the chicken
this?
one.
This is a chicken. I love chicken. Okay.
That's a chicken. So it's, mixed with... The stuffing is mixed with a few ingredients that include vegetables, but it's a chicken empanada.
By the way, it tastes amazing.
It does?
It does, yeah.
You don't have to say that. I mean, I want
no,
feedback.
I'm honestly saying that. Hey, this is the Hustle Kitchen show. I don't talk bullshit.
I know.
And I don't do any paid ads or sponsored ads. So we call it like it is. But so what is the love here? Like, what is it that makes this different?
I think this is where my mom comes in. So her recipes and the right, mix of the ingredients is what creates the flavor, which of course I have no idea of because I'm just trying to run the business.
Is your mom still actively involved in this?
Yeah, my mom, I mean, nothing goes out until she sort of tries it and approves it because at the end of the day, she's like the thermometer of what's good and what's not. And yeah, I mean, she's still it's her recipes.
The captain.
Yeah, very much.
So, Argentinian pastries.
Yeah.
Made by your mom, overseen by your mom, special secret recipes that you guys have.
Yeah.
If you haven't tried this yet, guys, just try it out and let us know what you think in the comments. We'd love to get your feedback, right?
Yes.
Because we'd love all of Bahrain to at least try this out.
I would. I really would because I think they would like it. It's a very simple product.
I think they would love it as well.
I think there's a misconception about the size of the empanada because, again...
Is it supposed to be bigger?
Because typically, if you look at the Lebanese and the Syrians and all these versions of which are delicious, sometimes maybe they tend to be smaller, but we tend to stuff them a lot and make them a considerable size,
Okay, makes total sense to me. So what's your vision for this going forward?
Going forward, so I want to... So I tell you what my challenges are right now.
What's the challenges?
Challenges are, do I have to open a new restaurant? Do I want to again reinvest in an outlet and the fittings and the branding?
And we're still during COVID times.
Yeah. So
we haven't fully gone out yet.
I don't.
Everyone's moving virtual.
I find it a bit of a struggle, to be honest, to have a homegrown concept and with a product that I truly believe in, I find it a bit of a struggle to get out there into the market without having to make a considerable investment.
Yes.
I've looked for kitchen incubators. There's nothing really out there. Kitchen incubator would have been an ideal scenario for me because our business model right now is takeaway, it's delivery.
Yeah.
You know, so and a kitchen incubator which is set up in a way that you get your CR immediately.
Yeah.
So it's been a bit. It is a challenge. It still is a challenge.
We hope to try to solve that for you.
Yeah.
We hope. I think it's just an awareness thing here. First.
Yeah.
The initial step.
Yeah. That would be the logical step if you look at it from a communications perspective. Yes.
To hopefully try to organically get more sales, which you can then reinvest into whether you're opening up a kitchen or a restaurant or a truck or whatever it's going to be, right?
Oof, I looked at so many trucks. But there's also restrictions to the trucks. I mean,
what's the restrictions?
I mean, the restriction is that so my folks are Bahraini. They're Bahraini citizens, so we could get a truck.
Yeah.
But you can't get a truck unless you're in the truck. So I mean, I'm not
what do you mean?
Get my parents to go into the truck.
Like physically in the truck?
Yes.
What, you have to run your own truck?
Yeah, pretty much.
You can't just have staff there running a truck?
No, you can't. You
really?
You can't get visas or staff. No, you can't.
I had no idea about that. So I swear I go to trucks and I don't see the owners in the trucks.
Yeah, but those are the ones that get clamped down after a while.
Oh, really?
From what I've
So that's the first time I've heard of that. Yeah. Really great bit of tip there.
Yeah.
So if you have a truck, you need to run the truck. Does that apply the same if you have a restaurant and the truck's an extension?
You know, if you have the truck as an extension, still, if the truck is a facade where you are actually selling or where Talabat is coming to collect, you still need to be in the truck.
Physically,
yeah. You can't have anybody else in the truck. This is, again, and I just want to...
You must have researched this. You must have researched this.
But the guidelines for the food trucks change every year.
Okay.
Not only in terms of how to fit them out, and what sort of, how to, where the exhaust should be.
Health and safety stuff.
Yeah. So, but the guidelines do change. They might have changed in these past few months. But from the last I read and the last I researched, it was a good investment. It made sense. You get your CR, in quickly. It was at a much lower cost. But the involvement of being in the truck was, you couldn't just put somebody in the truck.
That's a tough one.
It is. It is. It's very tough.
I had no idea about this.
Yeah.
I honestly have not seen the owners in most trucks.
Yeah.
Right? I just see stuff sitting there. Yeah. And I think this is one of the areas where there's a bit of gray line that's going on.
I think so.
But you want it as a distribution point, I guess, right?
Pretty much.
I think, let's get the awareness out there.
Yeah.
And then see where it takes from there. Okay. Have you ever thought about selling your pastries in other cafes and restaurants as a supplier?
Yes, but for that we need not only the CR, we need a truck that transports...
like a food truck, like a delivery truck.
It's like a fridge truck that will deliver to even
cold
hotels.
Truck.
So I know hotels would be very keen on having our product, for example, in the buffets, and their buffets, which are so diverse.
Yeah.
But you need them delivered with a specific truck, and you need to have certain paperwork in place.
And I think this is something that you could probably create as a frozen line uncooked.
I would.
Which they could then just cook 100%. At their own retail, and that's a 100%. Great new income generator.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Well, Martin, I really appreciate having you on the show today.
Jose, thank you so much for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure. Same. And guys, if you have not checked out
Che Argentina.
These empanadas, right? Guys, you must check this out. What's your Instagram account?
Che Argentina, CHE, Argentina.me.
Check it out, guys. Try it out. Let us know what you think. Thank you so much, Martin, for being on the show today. Until the next time, we will see you later.